welcome everybody to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Crew Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by PEMF Machine from Replenishing Care Technologies. So make sure you go hit the banner on thegruelingcrew.net and check out the PEMF machine. If you've got anything wrong with you, this machine can do wonders, so make sure you check it out. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion and a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Mike. Hey, I got to tell you, I read up on that piece of equipment that's promoting our show, and tell you what, that's something I got to try. I used a reasonable facsimile, knocked 8 strokes off my game. Went from a 90 to an 82. Well, just thinking about how good that thing would make me feel. Imagine if I actually got to use one. If they want to send one to me, I'd be a walking testimonial to my 60-year-old body. We got the crap beat out of it by Bob Knight. We'll see what we can do, because there may be a chiropractor in that area that has one, and if he does, we could probably hook you up with using it. I'm just stuck in my little TENS unit right now, slapping that thing on and zapping my old beat-up muscles.
All right, so our show topic today is LeBron James the greatest player that ever lived?
And you know what?
Conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a conversation I never wanted to have, because I've never been a fan of LeBron James.
He's forced it, though, in these playoffs.
He has forced it. He has forced it to where, I tell you what, after watching him play the full 7 games against the Pacers and watching him dismantle Toronto, this conversation should be debated all the time, because he has laid some groundwork and some foundation for himself that certainly he has a right to fight for that throne as much as the other players are that claim that throne. So let's discuss it.
Yeah, and when you look at it, I think that guys like Jordan was a better scorer. If you look at him, he had 10 scoring titles. LeBron had 1. I think Jordan played in a superior era. And the thing is this, I don't necessarily think Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time. I think Kobe Bryant belongs in this discussion. I think Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson. There's 10 or 15 guys that at least need to be brought up when you discuss this. But if we just go with Jordan or LeBron, to me, I think that LeBron has a all-around skill set that we've never seen. And the size of him, the athleticism that he can play with. But the other thing I don't want to get into is this, because every time you hear this argument, Michael Jordan fans all bring up, well, he never lost in the finals. I don't think that really matters here. I don't think it matters that LeBron's never lost in the first round. This is about who the greatest player is. And when we talk about the greatest player, how do you quantify that, Steve?
Well, that's the $10 question right there, because that determines the direction in what you do. See, I take coming from a program or a philosophy of game, the way we played was there is no I in team. There was no one individual. That's why we never put names on the back of our jerseys, all the great cliches that go with that concept. And I say all that matters more than anything. And I think it's virtually impossible to honestly sit here and say that any one player is greater than the other player. And you can say that in certain categories. You can use a category of scoring at will. You can use a category of defense. You can use a category of game altering. And there's one great player who stood out above the rest. But to sit there and say all of them, and try to quantify a great player out of that by looking at just the broad spectrum of the players, there's really only 3 or 4 in my book, not 10 or 14.
Well,
there's really only 3 or 4 players.
But what you're missing is this. When I say this, I think that guys that really get missed are the centers, and we're going to do a show on this in the next week or two. And guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, right there to me, there's 4 guys that belong in that conversation.
What I look at is this, and this is what drew me to LeBron. I look at it entirely on, and that's the way I rate my coaches too. In the spirit of a 30-second timeout for a coach, what can that coach do to alter the entire ebb and flow of a basketball game. I knew nobody in the college ranks better at it than Bob Knight. I never saw anybody better at it than Bob Knight. But he could take a 60-second or 30-second timeout, and he could literally change the entire direction of a ball game. And to me, that made him, in my eyes, the greatest coach, because he could prepare, he could do all that and deliver information, have the information received, and he could influence the outcome of a game. And there were different influencers in the game at all times. So to look at the greatest players, I'm going to go back and I'm going to stick to my guns and say I see LeBron James as the greatest single player I've ever watched play this game that can win a game, change a game dynamically, do whatever he has to do, to maybe making a pass, blocking out, making a great swat, do whatever it does, but he plays the game to alter the game and control the game. Jordan did it by scoring and by hustle. Kobe did it by scoring. Bird and Magic probably were as close to LeBron as there is. But I hold my three with the guy that said the greatest players would be Bird, Magic, and LeBron now. I don't think Jordan really belongs in that category because Jordan was a scorer. You couldn't stop him in the clutch situations, but that was really it. He wasn't a great defensive player. He didn't make the great defensive plays.
He wasn't a great defensive player?
No, that's not what he was known for. He was known for
He's a better defensive player than LeBron is.
Well, that's in your eyes. He couldn't go down
that's in the NBA's eyes, because all-time first-team defensive awards, Michael Jordan made it 9 times. LeBron James has been on that team 5 times.
And you speak like a person who's never been in the paint on a big-time college game or a big-time NBA game. You speak like a damn sports writer for ESPN.
Well, I wasn't
it's like
this
either. Is what it's got to be.
But I also know this.
Actually, you're better than a sports writer for ESPN. I'll give you that.
All I can tell you is
that
this.
Speaks entirely to somebody who's never played the game.
All right. Well, listen up, because he also led the NBA in steals 3 times. He was a 1988 Defensive Player of the Year. And, I mean, when you see them, I think LeBron James was a great defensive player his first 7 or 8 years. I don't think he has been since then. I don't think Michael Jordan is as great a defender as everybody talks about, because I don't think either one of these guys are great defenders. But I think that Jordan is a superior defender to LeBron James. Overall, James can go up and block a shot, but to me, neither one of them are great defenders. For great offensive players, they're good defenders.
Jordan's a great statistical defender. He puts numbers on the board, got steals, and did the things statistically that anointed him that position. LeBron, I'm going to tell you what, if I was a player at my side in my prime, I would not fear taking Jordan to the hole as much as I would LeBron. Simply because LeBron, with his size, his quickness, his speed, his athleticism, I would think I would have a better chance every time of going at Jordan than I would at LeBron. I just think he alters the game. He alters everything you do when he wants to play defense. Now, the guy's playing 45 minutes in a 40-minute game or 48-minute game. I mean, he's never sitting. He's 15 years in the league. He's got to be tired to some degree. He's carrying an offensive load that's unbelievable, and he's still making significant defensive plays. And, part of the reason there is with LeBron, I think the people respect him defensively so much. It's kind of like being the greatest quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't get all the picks because they don't throw to him. Because, Richard Sherman, we knew he was a great defender, so he didn't get all the picks. He never led the league in picks. But it was because it's like, God, don't throw in that court. Don't throw that side of the field. Sherman's over there. And I think that's LeBron. LeBron influences the outcome, the way teams set up their offense, more so than any player, any non-center, but on a broader scope on the court. And I still might say I'm not necessarily a large LeBron fan, but I'm a fan of the game, and I also have played close to those situations, not at that level of an NBA championship series, but in a college level international championship game. And there are players I feared to go against and players I didn't fear to go against. I didn't fear against playing against James Worthy. He didn't scare me. He was a better scorer than I was, but hell, I knocked him on his ass long before he knocked me on my ass. And I would be afraid to go against LeBron. I just would think I wouldn't have it. And I don't think Coach would want me going against LeBron. He'd say, we're going to alter our plan and we're going to play away from LeBron. Jordan, you just take him for what he is. He probably got more steals because he got more opportunities to make steals. So they didn't fear him as much defensively.
Are you done?
I'm done.
All right.
For now.
What about the case of NBA Finals and LeBron disappearing?
NBA Finals, I think teams can find. You got to look at the teams that LeBron has played on too. Not nearly as talent laden as the rest of the guys that have played with. I mean, you look at the teams, the Celtics and the Lakers in the '80s, and I know you're going to argue the fact with Jordan and Pippen and Rodman and that team that played together. And right, they were not the all history world NBA players, but that was probably the greatest team put together in terms of guys playing and winning as a team and not playing and winning as five individuals on the same team, which is how I think the Lakers won most of their championships. They were able to come together, but they still were five great individuals that played in the same uniform. They just worked together.
Yeah, but
I think the Bulls were the greatest
remember,
team. But anyway, let me finish that. It goes back to, I think that LeBron carries a larger chunk of the game influence of any individual player on the court, of any of the three or four guys we want to talk about as being in that category. I don't put even Kareem in that category. Kareem did nothing but score. I mean, he just could 7-3 with a sky hook like that. You couldn't stop him. No, Chamberlain couldn't stop him. And I consider Chamberlain the greatest athlete ever to play in the NBA. And he couldn't stop him. But what else could he do? He couldn't get up and down the court. Hell, they made a joke about him in the movie Airplane. You tried dragging Walton Lanier up and down the court. There's another name in the centers, Bob Lanier. We didn't even mention Bob Lanier on that one. Geez, I'm going to write that name down, too.
I didn't know we were even discussing that right now.
No, I'm making notes for that discussion.
Oh, I love Bob Lanier with his size.
Bob Lanier is great. That's right.
But my thing is this.
That puts Bill Laimbeer down to about 33.
You won't find an NBA Finals where Michael Jordan was going 2 for 12 in the fourth quarter of a clinching game.
He was a big time scorer. He could score. But he influenced the game single-handedly by scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I can tell you this. I can tell you this.
What do you know about Kobe Bryant? Kobe Bryant did nothing but score points. Kobe had that Reggie Miller theory. Kobe had that theory, if I put up 40 shots, I'm going to score 20 points. Crap, Mike, if you and I got in an NBA game, put up 40 points, put up 40 shots, we'd get 20 points.
I get 30, but all right.
Okay, I get 20.
The other thing is this, though, and I've got to admit something here, all right? This is what I have to admit. I have to admit that I think LeBron James is a better player than Michael Jordan.
Okay.
This is the thing.
Well, why are we having this discussion then?
This is the thing, because I think the discussion needs to be heard. Because you hear Jordan people that are always, this isn't even a discussion because he's won 6 and, he never lost any, and LeBron lost 5. But actually, I wrote an article on the Grueling Truth giving 16 reasons why I thought that LeBron was a better player. And I don't think he's the greatest player of all time because I think Magic Johnson controlled a game like nobody ever saw.
I couldn't disagree with you on that.
And I think Larry Bird did too, even though he wasn't the point guard. I think those two guys controlled everything, and if you remove either one from the situation, there's a good chance you're looking at a guy there with 7 or 8 championships. But the other thing is this. The big Michael Jordan argument is he's the greatest player of all time because he was 6-0, and LeBron's 3-5 so far. But my question is this. Wouldn't that make Jordan like the 7th or 8th best player of all time? Because there's at least 5 or 6 Celtics that have won more than that, and Bill Russell won 10 or 11.
Russell won 11, Kareem won 6, Chamberlain won 2. So there's a lot of players that have won more championships. Yeah, most of the Celtics have more rings than Jordan will ever have. And we don't even hold them in the same conversation. So
the thing that blows my mind, though, is these guys use that as their basis for him being better than LeBron. But if you come up and say, well, Bill Russell's better then they'll give you some other horse shit answer. But if you look at it, Bill Russell played 13 seasons, won 11 titles. Sam Jones played 12 seasons, won 10. Tommy Heinsohn then in that argument is better than Michael Jordan because he won 8. Casey Jones won 8. I mean, if you go through this whole thing, Michael Jordan's tied for 10th. So that means that Robert Horry, who won 7, is better. It's a stupid argument, and the biggest problem LeBron James faces is this. People see the not 1, not 2, not 3. You remember what he did when he won with the Miami Heat. And people hate that, number 1. Up until then, everybody loved LeBron. He was playing in Cleveland. Everybody feels sorry for you when you play in Cleveland, no matter what sport it is. And I think then from there, you get all these fans that aren't fans of the Cavaliers or the Heat. They're fans of LeBron, and they piss off all these people. And the thing is this, Michael Jordan was not a god on a basketball court. I mean, if he was, in 1990, the Bulls had pretty much the same team they had in 91. But in 1990, the Pistons hadn't gotten old and beat up yet. In 1989, same situation, and the Pistons controlled that. And I think what people fail to see is this. LeBron, by beating Golden State that one time, that Golden State team was better than any team that Michael Jordan beat. I mean,
agreed.
You had the Jazz with Stockton, Malone, Hornacek. You had the Seattle Supersonics, Gary Payton, great player, but not a great scorer, great defender, maybe the greatest defensive guard I've ever seen. You had Xavier McDaniel, guys like that, not a great team. Maybe the best team they beat to me for an all-around team was Phoenix or Portland, either one. Phoenix had Barkley, Marley, Kevin Johnson. I mean, they were a good team. Portland had Clyde Drexler, Danny Ainge, those guys. It was a good team. But he never had to beat a great team. And that Golden State team, I think beating Golden State solidified LeBron because LeBron did beat better competition there. Because you had 3 guys that probably when they're done, at least Steph Curry's going down as an NBA legend. Klay Thompson, they're loaded. And LeBron beat them.
They're very loaded.
LeBron beat them. So I know they talk about the competition in the 90s, but the competition in the 90s was not that stout. Of course, for some reason, Michael Jordan disappeared in 1994 and 1995. A lot of conjecture there. A lot of it has to do with gambling debts. Stern asked him to go do something else for 2 years. But his big chance, to me, to prove his greatness would have been if he'd have played 94, 95, and if he could have beaten the Rockets with Olajuwon and Drexler, but he didn't do that. And when I look at this, you could talk about, the East is weak, and and LeBron James is like in the finals every year because it's weak, but he gets there every year. And when I look at Jordan, I don't hold the first-round losses against him because he's playing maybe the greatest team of all time in the 86 Celtics. The 85 Bucks were a good team. But the 80s were where you had legendary teams. You talked about the Lakers, the Celtics, even the Sixers. The Spurs were really good, at least through the first half of the 80s. And then the Mavs and the Jazz at the end. But
Phoenix was great. Phoenix was great in that run, too.
Yeah, Phoenix was good in the early 80s and in the late 80s. You remember they
Westfall,
had the Greyhound, Walter Davis.
Alvin Adams?
Yeah, Walter Davis.
Who?
Well, the Adams
Walter
group,
Davis? Yeah.
The Adams group was in the 70s, late 70s, mid to late 70s.
It shows how old I am.
That was the team that played the Celtics in that 76 finals where Gar Hurd hit the half-court shot.
Yeah, that's right.
But when I look at this, to me, the greatest players I've ever seen are Magic and Larry. And without Magic and Larry, Jordan doesn't have Air Jordan shoes because I think, and we've talked about this before, I remember when I was younger, up until 1983, if it wasn't on the weekend, during the week, the NBA Finals games were actually on tape delay. It was so unpopular. And, Larry and Magic brought this game to the next level. Michael Jordan kept carrying it, but LeBron James has kept carrying it. And the thing about it is this. The NBA got more popular with Michael Jordan. But I think that LeBron James has taken a league that was going downhill and actually brought it back up.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with most everything you say. Pretty much to agree. I think the 80s was the golden era. The 90s started this dark period where individualism came into the game and players started worrying more about marketing. And I think Jordan to me is is much on his pedestal for his prowess as a player, but also for the marketing job Nike did with him. Nike turned him into a worldwide phenomenon. Okay? I mean, you even go so far as to look what they did with Tiger Woods. Nicklaus still owns Tiger career-wise. He owns him. Okay? In terms of dollars, money won, in terms of equated to today's dollar, majors, every category, Nicklaus outshines, but yet Tiger is, you hear me talk golf, now you talk Tiger, not Nicklaus. But that's a Nike hype job. Jordan was the first of these big hype jobs. I mean, Magic and Larry had the Converse commercial where some of that, but a lot of Jordan's mystique and prowess comes off his shoe sales as well as his ability to score and win championship games, no doubt. It's my opinion. Larry, I mean, I'm from Indiana. I understand all about the legend of Larry and French Lick. But, when you start get to name players like Larry, Magic, and LeBron, you start figuring out reasons how to eliminate somebody. Larry, to me, gets eliminated just because he didn't have the durability that Magic and LeBron has. I mean, LeBron's been doing this 15 years, and I would say this is his greatest year in the playoffs right now. In terms
but remember this, Magic was pretty much done. Magic was done in 91, no. Bird was done in 90. Neither one of them played more than a decade in the NBA, but you also got to give them this. I mean, Bird played 2 or 3 years at Indiana State. Magic played a couple years at Michigan State. So you have to take that into effect, too. And also with a back injury is something that can just happen. It doesn't mean they were durable,
Larry.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not knocking Larry, but I'm not knocking him. But also, the college years to me are a break because in college you're only playing 40 games or 35 games at that point in time. 31-1 was Larry's senior college record. LeBron's playing 82 games right off the get-go. He's never had that push college schedule where you play 2 games a week and then, now you're playing on the road, traveling, spending all. I mean, I don't equate that. It's a tougher life. I mean, Quinn Buckner told me one time if there was anything in the world he could have done and made the same money he made playing in the NBA, he would have done that no matter what. Just simply because the most grueling life is the NBA life. And we say that because we see the contracts they get. I get that. But he said, if I could have done anything else to make the same money, I'd have done that instead of playing basketball. Because it's such a grueling life. So for LeBron, to me, to be 15 years into this thing, and I'll tell you, I'm not a LeBron fan for all the reasons you said. I don't like his antics. I didn't like the announcement of going to Miami. I didn't like all the hype. I don't like the flopping that he does. I don't like the crybaby crap. It's sad. He doesn't need to do that. He's one of the 3 best players. Anybody will tell you that. Arguably, you could say he's the best. We're never going to win that conversation because you're never going to convince anybody. But he detracts from himself, like Bird detracts from injury. I detract LeBron from being such a child on the court. Then I give it to Magic. Truthfully, I think Magic is still the most influential, greatest player ever to play professional basketball because he can do anything. And I think LeBron's right there with him physically and influence-wise. I just don't think he has the character that Magic had. And I think that's why Magic's got 5 rings and LeBron's only got 3 rings. And why Magic has a fan club bigger than LeBron's will ever be to this day, even today. And LeBron's will never be as big as Larry's. So, but in terms of watching LeBron on the court and just seeing how he influences every player on the court, how they all players I'm watching, they all have their eyes on LeBron. And it's like the minute he gets the ball, I mean, I was definitely rooting for the Pacers. I'm like, the minute he gets the ball, my wife said, we're screwed. He's scoring. He's scoring or going to the line. And sure enough, every time he did. Now, is that favoritism by the NBA? If that's the way they want to market their league,
well,
there's little we can do about it. But
Magic, Larry, and Michael all got the same calls. They all got the 3 steps when they went. So I don't think that's a big deal to me.
I personally think those 3 are above Jordan, truthfully. I truthfully think those 3 are actually – Jordan, to me, is in more of a category with Kobe, where he was a dynamic, great freaking player who won a lot of rings and came along and got hyped by Nike in a huge way and got made to be a celebrity, and probably his celebrity became bigger than his ability to play the game. be like Mike. But I don't think that Mike could ever really live up to the on-court ability to play the full spectrum of the game to where Magic, Larry, and then includes involving all other 9 players on the court, either making them defend you or making them be ready to catch a pass. And I think LeBron and Magic and Larry are in a league by themselves.
Yeah, and I think
those, then you can pick those 3 all day long.
I think the reason that you won't have people say that is because Michael Jordan is kind of a myth. Yeah, I mean, the thing is this. Most of the people you see argue this are like under the age of 25 and never even saw him play. They just go to YouTube and they watch highlight videos. And the thing that stood out to me is this. Because I always told my son, I thought Magic and Larry were the 2 greatest players ever. And this would have been about 2008, 2009. He was like 8 or 9 years old. This is my oldest son. And he's in there and he's watching YouTube videos. And he comes in, he says, Dad, with all them dunks, there's no way Michael Jordan wasn't the greatest player ever. I said, well, go watch Larry Bird and Magic Johnson highlight film. And he comes back out about 10 or 15 minutes later. And I said, what'd you notice? And he said, well, what I noticed was this. All Jordan's highlights were him scoring. He said Magic and Larry's highlights, half of their highlights were them getting other people shots. And you look at it, if you look at the Boston Celtics when Bird got there, the year before Bird got there, I think they were like 30-52. And everybody
they drafted him his junior year,
Yeah, and everybody says, well, but he had Robert Parrish and he had Dennis Johnson. But the thing is this. Robert Parrish was in Golden State. It was considered a colossal bust until he got with Larry Bird. Kevin McHale, I think, came out of Minnesota after 1980, where he'd taken Minnesota to the NIT Finals. They played Ralph Sampson in Virginia. Dennis Johnson had won an NBA World Championship and went to back-to-back finals as a guard for the Seattle Supersonics in 78 and 79. But people thought his career was done. You put him with Larry Bird, his career's not done. And you could look at the same thing with, Magic Johnson. I mean, those 2 guys changed the game. And the Lakers were a team that had Kareem, as you said, he could score a lot of points. But they were always losing in the conference semifinals until they got Magic. And having Magic put them over the top.
Right, yeah. And then he gets 6 rings. 5 of his 6 rings come when Magic comes. I think he wins 1 at Milwaukee, doesn't he? Didn't he win 1 at Milwaukee?
Yeah, he won in Milwaukee with Oscar Robertson.
With Oscar.
I think in 73.
And then he came back and doesn't win another one until Magic comes out in 79. And then he wins 6 of his 7. He wins with Magic. But, you talk about McHale. I'm sitting here in my office right now. I'm staring at a picture on my wall framed beautifully of me swatting Kevin McHale in his Minnesota uniform. It is so pretty. You got to see this picture.
Well, they do amazing things with pictures and changing what really
This is long before CGI, baby. This is 1980. This is long before CGI. But no, and to me, really, just because, but it's funny when you had your son do that exercise of going and look and see. My first thought of Larry Bird, and I saw it so many times, was the great, incredible passes he made under the bucket. And I know Magic made them too, but Bird just seemed to be cooler. Maybe because he was white. I don't know. But
yeah, you weren't expecting it from a white guy.
You weren't expecting it from Magic, but Bird and Magic just expected it because Magic was Showtime. But Bird, what I remember is just seeing him so many times, and I know because I played on this court before, how rough and beat up the garden floor was, that parquet floor, how out of sync that floor was, and see him sliding on court, diving after loose balls. I know that court had to be tearing into pieces because, like I said, I played on that court. And that court was so poorly put together because it was so old. Because Auerbach wouldn't
there was
put
like
the court
half-inch gaps in between the parquet.
Half-inch gaps. And I know when he was sliding like that, it was tearing the crap out of his body. But, I think of Bird, and I see guys, I see LeBron making the big plays that have to be made when they have to be made. Like I said, until the Pacers series, I was never even remotely going to ever support LeBron James. And now I got to tell you, I personally think it's down to him and Magic. I think they're both just one small notch above Larry, just because I just think they have a wider range of physicality, of things they can do. I think Larry had better court sense. than both of them, and it's tough to say against Magic, because Magic has some of the greatest court presence of anybody I'd ever seen. But I think Larry's is just a little better. LeBron is right up there, and I'd say right now, if you didn't include LeBron James in that conversation of those three players, and, you know, you can bring in the Elgin Bears and all the guys, nobody in this league influenced the game of professional basketball like those three players did and do in this day. And I fully at this point expect Cleveland to be in the championship finals. I fully now, I think that team is performing as well as it can. He has gotten love to step his game up, and leadership is important. He got games out of Tristan Thompson when he needed them, and he's got other. Korver has stepped up. But that Cleveland team is probably the weakest of the four teams I think can make it there in terms of the talent pool, but they're playing with the most confidence of anybody I've seen play. And I think it's all on LeBron's shoulders. I think that confidence that he has individually is spilling down to everybody else.
If he takes that team and wins an NBA World Championship, I think you got to make him number one.
I agree. If he takes his team to the finals and wins it, you have got to say now, after 15 years in the NBA, he is the greatest player in the history of the game. I just think you have to do it just because of taking this team. I would agree with you 110%. Now, the final chapter on LeBron is this, and this is where we'll get tested on our theories. There's all this talk about what LeBron's doing after this year. His contract's up, he can free agent to go wherever he wants. What he does after this season really dots the final I and crosses the final T. If he goes somewhere to a team that he believes, because he still wants to win championships, or does he want to go somewhere where a team where he can just put points and numbers on the board, a team like, let's say, the Lakers. The Lakers are more than a year away from winning an NBA championship.
Yeah, but the Lakers are going to buy so many players to go with him that it's going to be a team that can win it all right away.
If they don't have to pay the farm to get LeBron, is the problem.
Oh, they've got enough money. I think the way they're going to free this up is I think they'll have enough money for three max players, though.
That's the question. Is if LeBron does that, says I'll come to L.A., I'll win again with a third team. I'll win a ring with a third team. How many players have won rings with three teams? Anybody?
Robert Horry, maybe.
Yeah, but not a player you would even put in this category. Not a player that we would say is a great influencer of the game. Jabbar did it with two, Milwaukee and.
Yeah, but the thing is this: it was a lot harder to move around as a free agent up until the last decade or so.
Right. Yeah,
so
I
that's
agree
hard
there.
to do. But I think this: I think if he stays in Cleveland, he's nuts. But I think this is the thing: if he goes to L.A. because they're going to give him part ownership, I understand that. But I think this: I think LeBron catches a lot of heat for leaving and going to teams that are ready to win. All they need is him. But the whole goal, if you want to be the greatest player of all time, is to win. And how are you measured by rings against him?
Yeah. Ask Dan Marino that question. You're measured by rings. Great quarterbacks are measured by rings. You talk about Joe Montana. You talk about all the great quarterbacks in the NFL. None of them put the numbers on the board that Dan Marino did, but none of Dan Marino's not anywhere ever considered in their league either.
No,
and
he's
not. And you say, does LeBron go somewhere because he wants to win? I say wherever LeBron goes, they're a contender to win.
Yeah,
they're going to win. I think that's the better statement to make rather than he wants to go somewhere where he can win. I think wherever he does go, they're going to win.
Well,
I've even heard some talk about him going to
like
Golden
Memphis
State
or something.
Well, I think that he says, these are my terms of coming. You bring these players in with me.
Well,
for some strange reason, he campaigned like hell to get Kevin Love there.
Yeah.
I mean, if he fought like hell to get Kevin Love there, and I'm thinking, my God, of all the players you could have. But there's a man who knows what he needed to have on his side. And, Love, as inconsistent as he is and as injured as he is, comes out now big time. He's a big-time player. He's making them plays, doing the things. LeBron's elevated him. It's like LeBron saw in him what Nike saw in me. I can make you great.
Yeah.
You can't do it yourself, but I can make you great.
Yeah. And
Nike
came
failed
up a
with
little
me.
Short. Yeah.
And came up a little short, no doubt. I was getting there.
Yeah, but I didn't want to miss out on it because I knew you were going there, and I wanted to get there before you.
Dude, that was a lob. That was a lob for you to spike home.
I know, but then you interrupted my dunk off of the lob.
That's okay. See, I affected you defensively. I threw a defense on you and took it away from you. You're a game influencer right there. I stole your thunder from you.
All right.
So,
do you have anything else to add here?
No, I want to get these things shortened up a little bit and not people get tired of listening to me ramble. We got a good dialogue coming up on the next show. We are going to debate the 10 greatest centers in the history of the NBA.
That will be Sunday night at what time, Steve?
Let's go 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern
9
time.
o'clock Eastern, the top 10
9 o'clock
centers
Eastern,
of all
6 o'clock,
time.
Yeah, and I've got my 8 pages of notes already taken out, and I am ready, loaded for bear on this one. And Bill Lame Beer is not. There's a reason why Lame is in his name.
Yeah, you're just jealous.
Bill Lame Beer. Yeah, Joe. I guarded Bill Lame Beer. He was. I guarded him as a freshman. He was so bad, Knight had me guard him when I was a freshman.
But then he
That's
got
how
better.
bad Lame Beer was.
But then he got better.
And Isaiah tends to make everybody better. Okay, Isaiah made me better. All right. So let's give Isaiah a little bit of credit for that one there. More so than I'm giving Lame Beer.
Well, you don't have to rip on the white guys all the time on here, Steve.
Hey, everybody in my book that plays this game is clear. All right, as
guys,
Bill Murray said.
Go ahead.
As Bill Murray said in Michael Jordan's movie, whatever it was. I can't remember the name of it now. Looney Tunes thing, whatever it was.
Oh, Space Jam.
Space Jam. Larry's not white. He's clear. All great basketball players are clear. They don't have color. They play. The color is their ability to influence a game. Doesn't matter what color they are.
All right, Steve. So everybody can join us Sunday night when me, Steve Risley, and our special guest, Bill Lambier, will be on the show with us to discuss the top 10 centers of all time.
Get Lambier on the show. That'd be great.
He's going to be on the show.
That's great. Great.
And he wants to play you one-on-one on the show.
He'd kill me. It's okay. It's not relevant. It's not relevant.
I'm kidding. Bill Lambier's not going to be on the show. He's too rich to deal with us. Maybe I'll try to get a hold of him, because it'll be more fun.
No. His dad's too rich. His dad owns half a GM.
Well, that's what I mean. Bill did all right for himself, too, though.
Yeah, he didn't do bad, but it's nice when Daddy owns half a GM. So
all the hate on
makes
Bill
life a
Lambier,
little bit easier for you.
It's a shame. He played at Notre Dame. That's an Indiana school.
Nah, Notre Dame is his own country.
Yeah.
We don't claim it.
They got their own TV contract and everything. They pretty much are. All right, guys.
Yeah, they are.
If you want to add anything about the show tonight, or do you want to send a message to Steve about your top 10 centers, you can find him. Just go to Twitter and search Survive in Advance. Yes, Steve?
I did get one question. I will address this Sunday night, too, for the guy that wrote it. His name escapes me right now, but I did address him on Twitter. He wants to know who I think coaches like Bob Knight in college basketball today. I will touch on that briefly because I think it's surprisingly more than you think. More than people think. I think that there are significantly more coaches that coach like Bob Knight did now than there were when Bob Knight was coaching. I think they've all have adopted his style to some degree. The big difference there is they tend not to show it on the court and tend to keep it in the locker room or in the practice court. So, but we'll address that. It was a question that came up, and I will be prepared to answer that question. It's full. I would do it tonight, but I'm keeping this to 30 minutes, and we're at 32 now. So say goodbye.
Actually, we're at 39, so you missed this big time, Steve.
My things are 5 minutes slower in L.A.
Like Bill Lambier. All right, guys.
Like Bill Lambier.
We're going to wrap this show up. Make sure you check us out.
We're going to wrap this shit up? Is what you're trying to say?
We're going to wrap this shit up. All right. You can
say goodbye, Mike.
You can catch us on thegrillingtruth.net. Make sure you check out Replenishing Care Technologies. Hit the banner. It'll take you there. You can hear all the shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.